The NBA has changed by a lot. The game simply isn't the same anymore. Teams are shooting more threes more than ever. The rules have changed a lot. Players have gotten more skilled, and the way players are evaluated as a whole has changed drastically. This new style of NBA has either helped some players' careers or hurt their careers, and some players stayed the same. The NBA is just different now, and some people will go as far as to say that some players back in the day wouldn't succeed in this era. And yeah, that may be true. On the other side of the token, there are some players back then that would succeed in this era, and I have 5 that came to mind. Now, if you're a returning viewer who hasn't subscribed yet, make sure you do so. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to stick around to the end. And if you like the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it helps the video out a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the 5 players who would succeed in the current NBA. Now, the first player in this video is one of my favorite players, and it's no other than Gilbert Arenas. Flat out, Gilbert Arenas had the perfect skill set for today's NBA. Gilbert Arenas was a big guard who could score at will and was ultra clutch. I mean, if you look at the young and up and coming guards in this league, I think Gilbert Arenas fits that mold perfectly. Everyone wants a guard who has a bigger stature that can score, play make, and shoot the 3 at will. I mean, some guys that come to mind instantly would be guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyler Hero, and Jordan Poole. And I think Gilbert Arenas fits that mold perfectly. Gilbert Arenas at his peak was an insanely gifted scorer. At his peak, he averaged 29 on average efficiency. And for his career, he averaged 20 points a game, which is not bad considering his injury history and how many games and seasons he played. And then as a playmaker, he wasn't bad either. At his peak, he averaged 6 assists, and for his career, he averaged 5, which once again isn't bad considering his injury history and how many seasons and games he played. And then as a shooter, Gilbert wasn't bad as well. At his peak, he was a 37% three-point shooter on 7 attempts a game, and for his career shot 35% from 3. So with the emphasis on three-point shooting and how it's changed the game, Gilbert will be perfect for this era. And with the new mold of point guards, Gilbert would fit right in. I mean, if he was able to put up the numbers that he did back then without the 3-ball being as emphasized, then I don't think it's too crazy to say that his numbers would increase playing in this era. So Gilbert's the first guy that I think will succeed in this era. And now moving on to the next guy, that'll be Arvydas Sabonis. Now with Arvydas Sabonis' career, there's 2 different halves of his career that we need to talk about. The one in Lithuania where he was exponentially more athletic and a lot younger, and the one where he got into the NBA but was a lot older and slower but a little more skilled. Now in Spain and Lithuania, he was averaging 19 points a game. He could stretch the floor and was a lot more athletic. And he was also a good rim protector and rebounder. So if you bring that player into the current NBA, it would translate well. I mean, the closest player I could see him resembling would be his son Domantas Sabonis. They're both guys who can shoot the mid-range and are both very gifted passers with great touch around the rim, and also 2 very good rebounders. But Arvydas Sabonis was bigger and more athletic than Domantas Sabonis is right now. So I think he'd be a more athletic and bigger Domantas Sabonis. But in the later point in his career, it was a lot different. He was obviously a lot slower and older, which limited some parts of his game. But he also became a better shooter and passer, as well as becoming a better post player as well. I mean, another guy I would think that his game would mirror would be Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is another big center who has elite court vision and has great touch around the rim, and pairs that up with a jump shot and post game. So I think that any version of Arvydas Sabonis would succeed in the current NBA. They both fit the current NBA mold. So I think that he would improve in this era, especially with the team that utilizes him to the best of his abilities. So Arvydas is my second guy. And moving on to the third player on this list is Reggie Miller. I mean, Reggie Miller is literally made for the current NBA. And Reggie Miller himself would say that he would prefer to play in the current NBA. Reggie would be the perfect off-ball shooter for any team. I mean, for his career, he averaged 39% from 3 on 4 attempts a game. and that percentage is above league average at his position. And I don't think that Reggie would only be a catch and shooter, because in his prime he was more than capable of taking you off the dribble and scoring, and he was noticeably more athletic at his peak. And Reggie actually has the perfect body and size. Reggie would be a one-of-a-kind player. I mean, there's not that many 6'7" guys in the league that have the capability of being one of the top shooters in the league and having the capability of taking you off the dribble and scoring. I mean, a guy who has a similar play style and body type to Reggie Miller would be Cameron Johnson. They both have a similar playstyle and body type, but I think that Reggie Miller would be a lot better because of his scoring ability. So with the 3-point shot being more and more emphasized every year, I think that a guy like Reggie Miller would be perfect for this era. And I think you'd have to be a fool to not think so. I mean, with him being so dominant and consistent in the late 80s and 90s, while being an elite marksman in an era where the 3-point shot wasn't as emphasized, then I don't see why he wouldn't do the same in this era or even get better. So Reggie Miller's my third guy. And moving on to my fourth guy, we've got Scottie Pippen. Now obviously Scottie Pippen is one of the worst shooters on this list, but I think that his other attributes more than make up for that. If you look at the current mold of wings in the league today, everyone wants a wing that can basically do everything. And Scottie Pippen was obviously one of those guys. Scottie in his prime was one of the greatest defenders of all time, a really good rebounder, an above average playmaker, a really talented finisher. He had the athleticism, and he actually wasn't that bad of a shooter. For his career, he was a 32% 3-point shooter and shot 2 attempts a game. Now obviously that isn't the best, but that's not too far off of the league average at small forward, which at small forward is 35%. Now obviously he still wouldn't be a strong outside shooter, but like I said earlier, his other attributes more than make up for that. I think that he can play a similar role like Ben Simmons, but obviously he'd be a better shooter. He'd be a better defender, a better rebounder, and he wouldn't be a better playmaker, but he'd still be a good playmaker. I mean, I just see Scottie playing that same role. If Ben Simmons can do it, then why can't Scottie? And another guy I could see Scottie Pippen mirroring would be Scottie Barnes. Two lengthy guys who could play every position, can play make for their team, defend multiple positions, and score when needed to. And Scottie Barnes isn't one of the stronger 3-point shooters, but he's found a way to adjust. So if Scottie Pippen was in today's game, he'd be a unique player, a point forward with multiple skills that could help any team, and he'd still be one of the best small forwards in the league. And Scottie Pippen is my fourth player. Now to move on to the last player, we've got Mark Price. One of the more forgotten stars that came out of the 90s. Mark Price was a 6-foot point guard who was a sniper and had elite playmaking skills. Now obviously Mark Price would be undersized for the position, but there are other point guards in this era that were undersized for their position and have done really well. Guys like Fred VanVleet, Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry, Jalen Brunson, and Darius Garland. So there's guys that are similar size to Mark Price that are doing really well. And I could honestly say that none of them shoot the basketball like Mark Price did. I mean, for his career, he shot 40% from 3 on 3 attempts, and that's really good. Now, obviously, in this new era, he will be shooting a lot more threes, but I don't think that his percentages would take that much of a dip. And other than 3-point shooting, he was a really good playmaker. I mean, for his career, he averaged 6 assists on 2 turnovers, and at his peak, he averaged 10 assists on 3 turnovers. So he was a playmaking threat and a shooting threat, and that would be perfect for today's NBA. I mean, just like Gilbert Arenas earlier, how I talked about the newer mode of point guards who are bigger. On the same token, you still have undersized point guards who are still doing really good. And you can't tell me that Mark Price wouldn't fit right in. And obviously with him being so undersized, he would be a liability on defense. But you could literally say the same thing with other undersized guards in the league. I mean, on certain teams you could hide him. It may be hard, but it is possible. So to end it off, Mark Price would be an offensive nightmare. He's more than capable of playing off the ball. And when he gets the ball, he's obviously a lethal shooter, and he's an elite playmaker. All things that are emphasized in today's game. And you can't tell me that that wouldn't translate. And Mark Price is my last guy. And those are the 5 players who would succeed in the current NBA. Now, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, as it helps my video out a ton and it helps with the algorithm, which will push my video out to more people and just help overall. And also subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Spread the word to another friend that watches basketball to check the channel out. That will help a lot as well. All my social media links will be down below in the description. If you have any video ideas, make sure to leave it down below in the comment section. More videos just like this one weekly. And as always, I'm out. Peace.